Welcome, welcome, welcome everybody to our new media special as New China continues to roll across the country. We are down in this, what's called the Southwest. We'll find out about that in just a bit. Another crew up in the Northeast, and as well as the Southeast. We continue to crisscross this nation, telling you how China has changed and the changes that are coming as it prepares to celebrate its 70th birthday, 70th founding of the People's Republic of China. And what a backdrop we have for you this morning. Here we are out in front of the Yangtze River. Yichang is in the background.
And you're listening the Jasmine song, so just listening.
Welcome. We are in a lovely location today. Behind us you can see the Yangtze River and the wonderful piano music brought to us by Barnabas Fichetti. He works with the Boston Piano Company right here in Yichang in Hubei Province. And you may notice a new co-anchor has joined us on the southwest route.
You probably may notice there's some little bit changes.
Hey, I can look at you eye to eye as opposed to looking down.
Like, hey, Taoyuan, hey, how's it going?
Zhao Wenfei, thank you for joining us out here today. And you did all the setup on this. Tell me a bit about where we are and how this differs geographically from where we have been going.
Well, actually, since you just arrived last night at 1 a.m., I know that you maybe perhaps need a little light music, so that's how it's going on today. Well, actually, the song you're listening is the song of Yangtze River, Ode to Yangtze River.
Wonderful, wonderful.
One of the it's actually a song for a documentary back in the 1990s of CCTV documentary telling the story Tales Along the Yangtze River. So this is a very familiar melody for lots of Chinese. And right here we're right in front of the Yangtze River. This is Yichang is the city of piano. It is also the city of the Three Gorges Dam. So today we're gonna take a look at how the city is engaged both with art and hydropower stuff.
And you cover this region for CGTN, so we're coming to the acknowledged expert in all of this. What do you think about this view, this red piano out here? Absolutely gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous.
Well, the atmosphere, as you can tell, in central China is completely different from the southwest China, although we're a southwest route.
Right.
When you come to Hubei, you have a reach at central China. It's so great to end this journey in central China. We'll reach Wuhan later, so it's the provincial capital. So, which actually give you a kind of entire picture, more diversified landforms and more diversified people's livelihood in China.
And this is, obviously one of the more iconic images in this area, the Yangtze River flowing down in front of this wonderful city. And it's known, as you mentioned, for entertainment, and this area also has so much hydroelectric power. We're going to tell you the story of Three Gorges Dam later on today. But right now, let's meet the man who is tickling the ivory for us, as they say in the United States. Barnabas Fichetti, Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
Pleasure.
That was a great song. The sound of Yangtze River.
Has to be, yes.
The oath to the river.
You're
behind
right
us.
on it on the Yangtze River piano.
You're originally from Hungary.
Yes.
But like many musicians, you've had a very circuitous route to get to where you are today. You've worked for some of the big piano manufacturers in the world, Gibson, Baldwin. Tell me what brought you here.
I came with a product which Parsons acquired. It's a certainly technology and piano. It's a player piano system. And it was developed, I was part of it developing in Europe and in America. And so when Parsons purchased the product, I came with it.
And what is your overview on Chinese, the atmosphere in Yichang, the musician atmosphere in Yichang?
Oh, it's wonderful. I mean, I think it's known that Yichang became a piano city because of our company. So this is very important.
And it's very interesting because I just learned last night that the primary school students will have to go to piano classes. This is really rare in China.
Yeah, and also that speaks to a bigger issue, I think, because there's a lot of debate going on around the world right now. Do kids need to learn the arts? But like you, I'm a firm believer they have to learn the arts because it teaches logical thinking, it helps with math. Just explain why you think it's so important.
I think just gives them a very good balance, just enhancements to their life later on. Social skill, they develop a better social skill through playing music, of course. Everybody who plays the music doesn't even necessarily have to be the guitar, but it helps. They feel more successful, they feel more self-confidence, so they just feel really good about themselves.
And the background we see is actually from a music festival of Yichang, which is just concluded. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, the festival, I was fortunate to be part of this festival for 8 years now.
Wow. And
it grew every year, and more and more internationally also recognized, more and more international performance orchestras and pianists playing. So that's a very important, cultural event here in Yichang every year.
Well, we've also talked a great deal on our new China adventure, not just here in the Southwest, but our colleagues in the Southeast and the Northeast as well, about not made in China, but created in China.
Yes.
We were talking about instruments, musical instruments, guitars, pianos, others, and in the past there had been a reputation that the quality wasn't there, but that is changing. Why do you think it's changing firstly, and tell me the significance of it?
I think that I can probably say it's kind of long gone, that those times when people said, oh, it comes in from China. No, not anymore. Actually, they really see the value, they see the quality improvement, and I'm talking about, of course, our company. I also see through the years, how much it improved.
Sure.
The piano, they really became absolutely world-class pianos.
I want to play a little bit, actually.
Sure.
I never played an instrument before, and since I was a boy, I always wanted to play piano, but my parents want me to commit to math or English or something like this.
Well, you should have told them I need to broaden my horizons.
Right.
But let's give it a shot. Because
okay, but can I play? Because
sure,
I have no knowledge. I know nothing about piano.
It's never late to start. Why don't we play something all together?
Okay. This could be an adventure, so be glad you tuned in, because this could go south really fast.
Okay,
Why don't
that's
we all,
my first show. My first show.
Why don't you grab a seat here?
On CGTN.
Okay.
Barnabas.
You're the leader.
Okay, so I know
okay.
very little about a piano, but I do know this chord is...
That's a D chord, yes.
This?
That's a G chord.
Oops.
D.
Was that? No, was it?
Oh, that's
What was it?
That was good. Yes. It been D and G, yes.
I'm just in charge of one key.
All right. How about that?
So
Come on, let's hear it.
The first hit.
But that is fun. I mean, and one thing we could talk about the piano, people just gravitate toward it. If you're at a party, if you're sitting around a house, tell us through the history how piano has really played into, if I think of the Old West in the United States, the saloons, the the player pianos, as well as just people banging out the keys.
It's just belonged to the family. Pianos were in most of the homes, and then since learning the piano takes many years, the player pianos were very successful because they played a real piano, and of course, that was even before there was any recording of them. So that was and as you mentioned, that the children gravitate. Yes, I always say if a 2-year-old walks up to the piano, they never have any confusion. They will not do this. They will not, okay.
Think of me as a 2-year-old when I approach that. So, but yeah.
What about you, 2-year-old? Go ahead.
No. But I would. Maybe we could convince you to play a few songs for us. Would that be okay?
Sure.
I heard you. Did I hear a few bars of Madonna Lady Madonna by the Beatles earlier?
Yes,
when he was warming up.
Oh, okay.
A great song. Please have
Some
a
of these so-called licks, you know, became so famous. I mean, so like, yeah, Lady Madonna. So the piano was a very important part of this song, okay? And of course, in America, the piano, the jazz is very, very important.
Yes.
You know, anything which is jazz. So that's because the piano is a percussive instrument. It's basically a percussion instrument. So it fits really well to rhythmic music, jazz, pop.
So you have the low end.
Yes.
You're keeping down here, and a little, what's it called, stride piano? The way that's where I grew up. People love to do that.
And the wide, I think they also call the piano the king of the instrument because you can imitate everything on the piano. Imitate an orchestra because we have the bass section, we have the treble. So this would be for the bass, the cellos, and everything, even the timpani. Okay. And then the middle section would be for some of the woodwinds or the strings, and the treble also. So you really can cover everything.
Let's hear you kind of cover all the bass, the middle, and the high end, and just kind of tell us why these pianos are so good. And I love the red finish, by the way. It's a great look.
And you know, piano is such an expressive instrument.
Station.
Well, I just love the fact we have a red piano in front of the Yangtze River as we talk about New China. I mean, you did a wonderful job setting all this up, and it really speaks to how fascinating this nation is. It's so diverse. It has so much going on. Now, you cover this area a lot. Tell me do you ever get tired of seeing these iconic images?
Well, I've been here for so many times, so it's a little odd for me to see kind of a different combination of culture. You know, this is a city in central China, so not with many of the diversity things. So having been able to hear different genres of music today, and then later on we go to the Three Gorges Dam, you'll see a mixture of life.
Barnabas, if you can, give us a tune that you think really speaks to China. How people, when you go into a club or someplace and perform for people, what is your standard? What's your go-to?
You mean popular pop music, or
just what you think entertains people?
Yeah, I mean, they really love to recognize their favorite melodies. You know, like even the first two which I played. You know, one of the Jasmine song.
The Jasmine. This is basically everybody knows.
So everybody knows the Jasmine song. Then the other, like, it's called those holy faraway places. So. And you know something very unique about piano music, because it's pentatonic, you know, the 5 notes.
Oh, right.
So it really gives that. And for me, it comes a little bit natural, maybe, because of my original background in Hungary.
Right.
It's also called Eastern, certainly.
What about blues? Do people here like to hear the blues?
Yeah, they love, yes.
Oh, that's my favorite.
Nice. You know what? Every 7 pianos, there's one come from Yichang. Every 7 pianos in the world, there's one come from Yichang. Later on, we'll walk into the factory and see the assemble line of pianos. But before that, we'll toss to our southeastern, our friends in southeastern. They are Linding, Toana, and Yangzhengxi, and check out how they're doing.
Yeah, the blues blues is interesting for piano. You play guitar, so you know you can bend the notes on the guitar. We cannot on the piano. So what we do, instead of bending, we play.
Oh, get that tension going.
Yes, we play the keys next to it. So we always want to bend the notes, but we cannot.
Well, we're going to toss to a different area right now, but we're going to talk to you in just a little bit. Barnabas, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Talk to you later.
Thank you.
That was great.
Thank you.
That was really good. Do you know Chuck Lavelle, the guy who plays for the Stones?
Yes.
I met Chuck 25 years ago because he's a tree farmer in Georgia. I was working.
Hi, Sean and Yunfei. Now we are now en route from Hangzhou to in Zhejiang Province to Suzhou in Jiangsu Province. Now you know there's a Chinese saying that goes, "There is heaven in the sky, and there are Suzhou and Hangzhou on earth." So these two cities are really like heaven on earth, right? It's two of the most beautiful cities in the country.
You're literally driving through paradise.
Yes, yes. Lindy, if you thought Hangzhou was beautiful, then I think Suzhou will not disappoint.
Oh, good.
No,
I can't wait to get there.
Yeah, it is a city with 2,500 years of history, and its mild climate makes the city a very desirable destination all year round, because many Chinese people, when they have this mental image about what Suzhou is like, they always envision a garden and a lake and some lotus and some mild rain that gives off this mystic kind of feel. So this is a city that's very humid. It rains a lot, but not the downpour that is very annoying, but those beautiful light rain.
Oh, wow.
Right? So this means that this city has a lot of water resources. Just like Hangzhou, who has like with the West Lakes, the Xihu and the Xixi wetland, Suzhou is, I would say, a bit more watery. It has this massive Taihu beside it, and then 42% of the city is covered by water, including a vast number of ponds and streams, and it is actually praised as the Venus of the Orient.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, that sounds lovely.
Yeah, so that means there's a lot of canals, stone bridges, pagodas, and most importantly, the city is known for its meticulously designed gardens, ancient gardens. So these gardens are top tourist attractions now. There are about 60 of them, and quite a number of them have been listed in the World Heritage Site.
That's amazing. You know what, on this trip, I think something that has really surprised me is the appreciation of beauty that Chinese people have. You know, you can live in a beautiful city and take it for granted, or in a beautiful country and take it for granted, but it seems to me that Chinese people just don't do that. You really celebrate the beauty of every city, you know?
Yes, and also people in Hangzhou and Suzhou, as our guest Andy Mock said yesterday on our live stream, they're really poetic people. I mean, because let me read you some of the names of the famous gardens in that city, and you'll see how poetic it is. Now, this afternoon we'll be visiting a garden called the Lion Garden. It's called Shizilin in the Chinese. And then there's another garden on the list called the Blue Wave Pavilion, right?
Blue Wave.
Yeah, it's
nice.
Blue Wave, how poetic that is. And there's another garden called the Lingering Garden, because you go there, you want to linger, you don't want to leave.
Yeah.
And
That's
now
how
this
I
one,
feel.
this one's interesting. 拙政园 in English means the humble administrator's garden. That means like whoever lives in it, it holds high position, and
It was
he
also
or
a
she is
humble
humble.
person.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, you know, on the southeast route, we have been traveling the most developed part of China, or at least compared to some of our colleagues in the southwest and the northeast. So many of the cities here have been really well developed, and Suzhou is no different from that perspective. It's a major economic center, a focal point of trade and commerce, and is in fact the second largest city in Jiangsu Province after Nanjing, the capital. The population is growing, which means it's attracting people as a center of commerce. But indeed, my curiosity really sits with the gardens and what that is really all about. So let's bring in our guests on the bus. As usual, we are with Andy Mock and Tim Clancy. Tim, I want to start with you. People in Suzhou seem to treasure these gardens and the cultural symbols that they represent, even just by listening to the names that Changxi was telling us about. What Chinese philosophies do you think these gardens actually convey?
Well, the philosophies that they convey, I would say, stem from the fact that this area of China has always been rich in resources, water. South of the river, Jiangnan, which is south of the river, has always been referred to as 鱼米之乡, a land of fish and rice. So you have a very good subtropical climate, you've got lots of water resources, you can grow lots of food, and not to mention you have the Grand Canal, which runs from Hangzhou to Suzhou. So you have a very well established trade route, and also Hangzhou produces lots of silk, and in Jiangnan they produce lots of silk, which many traders from Europe, from Arabia sought after. So you've got a center of buzzing commerce and prosperity. And I think with this prosperity, the general people, the population, can reach the top of the pyramid of self-actualization, and that way they can really have lots of time in the off-agricultural season to pursue painting, poetry, build beautiful gardens, which really is like physical poetry. And Suzhou actually throughout history in China has produced the most scholars that have went to the entrance exam and served as officials in capitals in major dynasties. And also the poetic history from Suzhou has really throughout the dynasties, apart from that stint in the Yuan dynasty when the Mongol hordes headed south. But I think that due to the geographical location and the rich resources, and also its location, it's been able to foster these poets, scholars, officials, these things. This is my insight into it.
The phrase that we use in Kenya to refer to that group of people is our learned friends.
The learned friends, the literati.
Friends are here.
Yes. Well, talking about learned friends, Andy, here's a question for you. How do you think the natural beauty or the mild weather that we talked about and all these geo-economical, I don't know if that's a word, right? But you know what I mean. All these factors shape the character of the people here.
I think they absolutely did. I mean, again, this term, first of all, I want to say that for a little bit of context. So Chinese is what's called a very high context language, meaning that one word, one phrase conveys a lot of meaning, which is different from most Western languages like English. And as a quick example, so as an American, if you say George Washington, it immediately conjures a lot of ideas and feelings, commitment to honesty, leadership, selflessness. So similarly, this idea of Jiangnan, while it's very simple, just means south of the river, as Tim was saying, actually carries a lot of connotations that shows that this part of China is really the cultural and historical heart, not just of the region, probably of the whole country in terms of shaping China's character. And how that happened, is partly, I think, because of the climate, how fertile this region is, called the land of rice and fish, meaning that it was easy to support yourself, to survive, versus northern China, where the people are much hardier and had to really struggle because of the harsh winters, more difficult to grow food, and that this allowed many philosophers to really flourish. But I think the other part that's very important to share with our audience is that the Chinese way of looking at things. So to put it in a very Western philosophical way, we would say there are lumpers and there are splitters. And Western Enlightenment thinking tends to be about splitting, meaning let's separate these things into mutually exclusive categories so we can better understand them. Whereas the Chinese, particularly from a Taoist tradition, is everything is connected, it's all part of one whole. And these gardens are meant to represent that. So to be a microcosm of the natural world and to manifest this idea that man is an inherent, inalienable part of nature. And it was meant to also cultivate greater understanding, greater character development. And in this sense, I think the Chinese tradition is much more humane and much more inclusive than how we've seen, how Enlightenment traditions have progressed into ways that, we're seeing the problems in the modern world today.
Andy, I want to ask you a question. I mean, you've just introduced Taoism into the conversation, and it course, makes me think of Confucianism too, but I think there's often confusion as to what it really is. Is Confucianism a religion, a philosophy, a political ideology, a value system for the Chinese? Perhaps you can contextualize that for us.
Yeah, I think we could say it's perhaps all of the above, and depending on what perspective we're looking at it from, certainly, it's a philosophy, it's I think a theory of governance, can be seen that way. I think it can be seen as not necessarily a religion, but a source of moral guidance as well. And I think it's a very, very profound part of not just Chinese history, but even as we look today, and we've seen how the CPC, the Communist Party of China, really has led this incredible transformation of China, not just over 70 years, but in particular the last 40 years of reform and opening. But it wasn't in a vacuum, but it also, I think, incorporated key parts of Confucianism, other parts of traditional Chinese culture, and which is why I think there's a lot of analysis and recognition today that one of the great contributions, not just to China, but to mankind, is this signification of Marxism, where taking the original Marxist theory, and of course it's called socialism now, but also integrating it with traditional Chinese thinking, traditional Chinese culture.
That is interesting.
And Tim, maybe you can talk about how you feel about, how you experience about the Chinese culture and the Chinese way of going about life, coming from a background from a totally different culture, probably.
That's an interesting question. What Andy was just talking about Confucianism and the question you asked him, Confucianism, it's very interesting how new Chinese socialism has really incorporated the core values of Confucianism to see everything more holistically and deal with everything very pragmatic. So I think this is also one of the key features that has made their transformation so outstanding in such a short period of time. And I find myself having reverse culture shock sometimes when I go back to Australia after having lived here for 10 years and being accustomed to the way things are done here, and then thinking when I go back, well, really I think some methods of dealing with problems that have been successful here could very much well be implemented in places where I come from, and I do get it's very difficult living between two cultures.
I understand that. I want to ask a question now, just coming from my understanding of China growing up, right? I always thought that China was a very atheist or secular country, and I thought that was specifically tied to China being a communist country. But as we're now talking about this new era of socialism with Chinese characteristics, what is the relationship between the state, between governance and religion? If you want to take that one, Andy.
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and I know for a lot of people overseas, they also wonder about that as well. But I think if we go back to some of these, I think, core principles, of traditional Chinese thinking that are also very important today, balance and harmony. So, while China is predominantly Han from an ethnic perspective, but there are many minorities. There are, people that are Muslim, there are Christians, there are Buddhists, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I think one of the key issues then is how do you balance that? But also keeping in mind that sometimes these religious organizations can be commandeered or subverted by outside forces. And this is also, again, to maintain a prosperous, stable society. Striking that balance, I think, is incredibly important.
But as you say, I mean, the history of China, here you'll find that there's still, in many of the cities we've traveled in, just historical relics and architecture, where a lot of these religions from around the world are still well preserved, right?
Well, we walked past that mosque last night, which was set up in Hangzhou in 1848. I think that with the way the mode of governance here, the religions have outlets to express themselves within the guidelines of harmony and balance, which is a core value of the guiding system of the country, which is heavily built on Confucian values. So, religion is available here, so just to let our viewers know.
And just as a quick contrast, I mean, we see that religious belief is a very, very important part of many people's lives. We also see how things can badly go wrong when religion is kind of taken to extremes. I mean, look at Shiites versus Sunnis, right? Even look at places in where we think this shouldn't happen, but like in Western Europe, in Northern Ireland, now things are much better. But we see how these kinds of religious differences can really create a lot of havoc and tragedy. And I think this is one of the key issues that I think China has done a very, very good job of allowing people to pursue their religious beliefs, but also maintaining an overall system, or as you said, sort of these guidelines to maintain overall a harmonious and stable society.
Yeah, when it comes to governing a country, there are a lot of factors to think about, right?
Especially with such a big population.
Yeah, there's a Chinese idiom that goes, governing a country is like cooking a small fish. It is a very delicate act. Well, a lot of things need to be considered very, very carefully. Now, fascinating discussion, gentlemen. Now, it's time to... And ladies.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now it's time to head back to our colleague Yunfei and Sean in the Southwest. And Yunfei, welcome to the team.
And that was Lindy and Changxi. Although we didn't watch it, we didn't hear it, we know it's good.
Absolutely.
We changed an environment all the way from the Yangtze River Bridge to inside the factory. Right here is the assembly line of the Boston piano, and we have a new friend now, Zhang Fan, Deputy Director of...
Hello.
Well, I'll have you walk over here.
She also goes by Maggie, so I may stick to the Maggie just
And Maggie is the Deputy Director of the assembly line of the factory. So we see there's a spruce over here. Tell us more about Alaska spruce.
Yeah, hello everybody. Actually, Parsons Music owns 4 manufacturing bases here. We have an upright piano factory, grand piano factory, an iron plate factory, and also here, the piano parts factory. And this is the spruce from Alaska. We use them to make the piano keyboard.
Yeah. As someone who's been to Alaska before and seen these trees, what is the quality that you look for the keyboards?
Because it's
a
very,
hard wood?
it's hard and very stable and very good for making the piano keyboard.
Excellent.
I can tell this is a really tall tree, actually.
And these are the piano keyboard parts. It's over 50 different parts, including the felt, pins, piano keys.
But for someone who actually...
But hang on, I want to draw just a bit of attention to, this is the ebony. This is the black piece that you see.
The black.
And this comes from Africa.
Yes, and it has the best performance of the black piece.
And this, the spruce for the keys themselves that we see up here. This is that. And then down here we have beech. And what does the beech do?
It's also make the piano keyboard and also the key band.
Is it a softer wood? Is it a hard wood?
Hardwood.
Again, to resonate off there. And so all of this just goes into that keyboard that we saw Barnabas out front playing so amazingly well.
Yes.
They all come from wood. So we have a little room showing over here.
This is our keyboard workshop. And let's walk into this room.
Oh, wow.
You can feel it's cool and quiet here. And workers are just gluing the white key covers to the keyboard plate.
I notice as we walk in here, it is significantly cooler than the floor. Is that for the gluing?
Yes, because there's a critical requirement of the constant temperature and also humidity here. The temperature is about 25 degrees centigrade and the humidity is about 50%. So to make sure the glue has the best performance.
And this is seeing the work done right before our eyes. And when we were out front just a short while ago, Barnabas was telling us that the quality of Chinese pianos has gotten so much better in recent years. Do you think that's the case?
Yes, because you can see that the workers putting on the white key covers very carefully and just one by one. And also after they glue the white key covers, and we'll put them onto this machine and to press the key covers to the board, make sure it's very stable. Let's walk.
We know it's not
to the-
easy to glue them up
Yes.
because
And also-
given the fact all of the workers over here, the staff members over here, they're basically musicians. Like they know a lot about music, so we kind of allow them to work well.
Yes. And here, after they put down the key covers, and will be sent here to CNC machine. It will cut the keyboard into different shapes, different angles, and then we'll move over there. We know that piano has 88 keys.
Right.
And there are 36 black keys and 52 white keys. And just make sure we may not mess up so many keys. And here, we use the laser coding machine to etch the numbers on each key from key number 1 to number 88.
Okay, this is a little noise over here, so we're gonna move directly to over that side. The director doesn't want us to stay here for any longer. There's a little noise over here. But
Yes.
tell us a little about
Okay,
what they're
they're
doing right
inserting the pin belt onto the keyboard manually, and over there, on my right-hand side, they're doing the same work on the machine. So there's a kind of a competition here.
Man, so
And also the inspectors will check everything.
Maggie, if we can find out here,
Go
because
to the next process.
we've seen so much smart technology leading up to here, but kind of explain to me what these ladies are doing and why this hands-on method is so important here.
Yes, because you can see there's very little hole on the keyboard, and then they're putting on the felt to make sure that the pin will stay in each of the holes very stable and very tight.
Can you believe that this is still manual work? This is not something done by machine. So imagine.
here we have the,
Oh, these are all the finished.
This is the,
the keyboard with the white key
The
cover.
white keyboard.
So, Maggie, if I buy a piano, you'll throw the black keys in for free?
Yes, I will.
Let's walk down the hallway a little bit.
Yes, and now let's move to the grand piano factory.
Ah, wonderful, wonderful. This is so amazing, and it is the combination of the smart technology and still the manual labor that is necessary.
And also automation too.
Exactly.
Automation.
Yeah. And there's an interesting thing that for the white key covers, the hardness is about 3H, and our nails is about only 2.
Really?
So don't worry, you will never have any chance to make any scratches on the keys, no matter how many times you play the piano.
So she's making sure that this doesn't run over the edge that would adversely affect the action of the piano.
Yes.
Wow.
You know too much about piano.
Well, this is what is the white, Maggie? What is the white made of? What is this white made of? If the black is ebony, what is this?
Plastic.
Plastic.
Yes.
Plastic. It makes it functional and cost-effective.
Yes. Yes.
I think this is the most busy, the busiest workshop, right?
Right.
So how many workers are working at the same time?
That's about over 100 employees.
Over 100 employees. Are they all local employees or?
Some of them are they're relocated here in Yichang.
Right. We've talked a great deal about that. I'm sure you've seen that in your travels too. The sort of left behind kids and the parents. But
Right.
it's what has helped lift China out of poverty, and it is changing. The goal, obviously, is to keep the family unit together. So,
But given the fact of the accuracy of the piano and tell that they're also very professional compared with other factory workers.
Sure.
They're very professionally trained.
Yes, because every of the workers here they have at least 5 years working experience in the industry. Then they will be selected to work.
So I'm curious from an international standpoint, the number of pianos that you make every week, every year, and where are they shipped to? Is it chiefly China or is it all over the world?
And that's actually our products are exported to 46 different countries and
Wow.
regions globally.
So this is why this city is known as the Piano City.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much, Maggie Zhang, Deputy Director of Boston Music. All right, next, we're gonna toss to Feng Yilei. You know what she's doing. Your
Feng
good friend.
Yilei, she is up there doing some crabbing, as I understand it. So she got a pretty good job today. If my guess is, She's going to taste those crabs later today as well. Come, Felix, we will let you take it away.
And Sean. So beautiful music always goes well with a beautiful scenery and some delicacies. So our northeastern crew today has arrived at Panjin in Liaoning Province. Well, Panjin is mostly known as a major oil production base in this area, but it also has a lovely countryside view. If we pan from to this side, 看一下这边. So here on this farm, we can see acres of golden paddy fields about to be harvested. And also, Panjin is now famous for one kind of very delicious food, crab. So right now I can see rice, but really I cannot find any crab. But here we have the owner of this farm, Mr. Wei Wei. So tell us where the crabs really are. 就是你告诉我们这个螃蟹到底在哪里嘛？
在这个咱这个蟹田，这个白天出不来，都在晚上6点左右吧上岸。
So really here in Panjin, crabs grow with the rice. And here I have my crabbing partner, Dai Piaoyi, who's already fully prepared. So
yes,
what are we going to do today?
Gloves with you. We are going to catch the crabs.
With
our bare hand, some gloves.
Okay, so honestly, I'm really good at eating those crabs, but it's my first time, honestly, to catch
It's
crab.
my first time too.
Yeah.
I'm very
so
excited.
I guess we need to count on our
guests.
Our guests.
So where are the crabs?
就是这个螃蟹，我们到底应该怎么样去找到它们，然后把它们抓上岸？
我带你去，好吧
Okay. Well, I can't wait to see crabs. So, speaking of crabs, this kind of crabs living in Panjin, what kind of species are they?
I've done some research on this. It's the river crab, the Chinese mitten crabs. It's different kinds of like the sea crabs.
Sea crabs. So, so first let us catch one of the crabs we just talked about.
这个盘子
就在这里。
对，往前走，往前走。
So here in this crab trap, these are Panjin crabs we just mentioned. So they are mitten crab because of their claws, I suppose, because they really look like pair of mitten, pair of hairy gloves.
我们应该怎么抓住它呢
They're moving really fast.
这么做，
How can we catch the crab?
正常做。
Oh, our guest just did it with bare hands, but I'm afraid we can't do it. We have to wear these gloves.
So what are the speciality of this crab? 这个盘锦的螃蟹有什么特点？能给我们介绍一下？
那个盘锦特点主要是
Be careful.
Be careful. 当心。
So I can grab this way and here.
首先是黑。
Oh, you've already mastered this.
第二是毛多，跟南螃蟹不一样。
So this kind of hairy crabs are slightly different from those in southern part of China.
You come from southern part of China, and
Yes.
where the Yichang Lake is located.
Yes, actually, it is another very famous
famous
crab breeding place across China. But yeah, I can tell the difference.
You must have a lot of experience of eating the crabs.
That's true.
So how can we tell the female or the male crabs? 哪个是公，哪个是母？
这是公蟹，那是母蟹。
We have a closer look at the crabs. This is the female crab. It looks like this. 这有什么区别？这是因为这是
这圆的。
So
the female crabs, they have a rounded apron on its abdomen, but the male ones,
different.
if we take a look at this,
the bell-shaped abdomen. Like our
So
cameraman to
it
zoom
also
in a little
has
bit.
oh,
Really close. Oh,
It really
really
hurts.
sharp and really hurt.
So this is a male.
Be careful.
How can I get rid of this?
就拿这只，
它现在咬住了，我应该怎么让它脱手呢？
搓搓。
哦。
搓手了。
要不您展示一下吧，跟我们的那个摄像机，就说这个公的螃蟹是什么样的。
那个公蟹，你这是。
So here we have another male crab.
母蟹是圆鳍子。
So the abdomen of a male crab, it also has a little apron, but it looks like an inverted T.
And the hairy.
It seems that the
hairy
male
crab.
ones are more aggressive. You just never want to
It pinches
let me go. Oh.
really hurt.
Okay.
Can't get rid of you.
So we can see these crabs, they move really fast and they are very sensitive to sudden moves. So if I try to approach it, it will get furious, and you can see how it is bubbling and try to get revenge.
我们通常是在什么时间段会抓这个螃蟹呀？
正常是晚上6点左右。
So
6
normally
点到9点。
it's between 6 p.m. to
Oh,
9
really?
p.m. is the time to catch the crab.
Why do you do this in nighttime? 就是为什么晚上做这个事？
晚上吧，因为说白天人来了，看到就跑了，跑水里了。晚上就到那点黑了，搁手电照着它不跑。
So they're really very shy and
Afraid of the
sensitive
light.
in daytime.
Sensitive of the daylight.
But how do you do this? I mean,
通常咱们
in a
是怎
professional way.
通常咱们是怎么
对
抓螃蟹的？正常的
就是咱们专业的来说，去大量的这个捕捉螃蟹是用
我
什么？
那边主要是像以往的形式。
So nowadays they no longer do it with their hands. Instead, they have this huge
fishing net.
fishing net,
As we can see.
this trap. Do you use bait to attract these crabs to get into the trap, or what are the methods you?
它这个是需要诱饵让它进来吗？还是它怎么进入这个网
那
子的呢？
个不需要诱饵，那个往前面吧都有那个，按照往前面去。
我们可以看一下吗？
对，可以看。
So we're going to take a look at the
He said
trap to see how they.
He doesn't need to use
Yeah.
the bait to attract the crab. I'm still holding one crab in my
有眼儿嘛，
hand.
它往里进。
Okay.
是洗进不行，那不都眼儿吗？往里
So
进。
there are
洗进
some
出不来
big holes in the middle of the net,
Here is
as we
a
can see.
hole.
那个是眼儿往里进的。
We can see there
Another fish in
There's a
the
fish.
in the trap.
poor little thing, and
When they get in the net,
they
它们进去之后
cannot get
就出不来
out.
了
I guess.
出不来了。
When they get in the trap, they
So
cannot get out.
how many crabs are there inside the trap? Can we pull up the net to see? Whoa, there are a lot.
There are a lot. 这边一共有多少个螃蟹啊？这个网兜里？
这网现在有个20多斤吧。
就他们已经是就是算是这个成熟了，可以
There are
对，可以
over
上市卖了
20
现在
in this
啊
one
可以
net.
上市了。
，and they're ready to
Ready to sell.
yeah to sell.
So this is the season for eating crab. 现在是这个收获螃蟹的季节，是吗？
对对对。
一般都是几月份到几月份咱们放进去，然后什么时候收获呢？
那个5·1放苗，正常是9月15号之后抓捕
那整个这个蟹的生长周期大概是多长时间
，4个多月
？4个多月。
，4个半月。
So in May they put the crabs in the field, and then after 4 months there this is the harvest season. So after September 15th, the mid-autumn, after the mid-autumn festival is the time for harvesting, eating the crabs.
So in average, the life cycle of a crab is about 4 months to
So-
grow from a larva to an adult crab.
I have a question for our local guest. Why
这
do
有一个
we
问
put
题要
the
问一下
crab
你。
in the field?
就为什么要把这个螃蟹放在这个稻田里养？
那个稻蟹共生嘛，那个稻子将来以后，首先养河蟹的情况下，大米不打药。首先是对咱人体的情况下，首先是
健康
对健康养生了。
So
稻
那你
蟹共生嘛。
整个这个盘锦是我听说呀，是从这个90年代开始
对
做这样一个
80
80年代。那
80
您这儿是什么时候开始在这个稻田里养螃蟹的呀
我这是09年，
？09年。
对，我在我29岁那年
So
开始
it
做的。
create kind of a eco win-win environment for the paddies and also the crabs.
And so here in Panjin, most local residents began to do this sort of co-growth stuff since the last 80s. But for Mr. Wei, personally, he started to do that since 2009. So the reason for them to breed crabs in the paddy fields, the most important reason is they no longer need to use any pesticide, so it can keep both the rice and crabs
Very
very
healthy.
healthy for your yeah.
Why this is like an eco win-win situation? 我们为什么会就是这个有什么好处？对稻子有什么好处？对螃蟹有什么好处呢？
那个稻子是怎么？就是说，第一， 我说了吗？那个对咱人体首先健康，第二是啥？和谐，一举两得。道业共生，一举两得了。这个螃蟹出钱了，稻子也卖得高价。
So it's indeed as you said, win-win.
So the waste
yes.
of the crab
For
will
crab and
provide
rice.
nutrient for the rice seedling. 就说这个螃蟹它一些排泄物之类的会给这个稻子提供养分。
对，提养分，对。
Provide invaluable nutrients.
Yeah, so
for the
both
rice seedling.
rice and crabs will be very nutritious. 那我们现在再看一下，就是说你把这个补完以后呀，我们下一步要怎么样？就是说会对它进行什么样的处理嘛？
下步那个有网袋，装网袋里，完了就是我回去分大小。
那我们可以看一下您就是来操作，您需要这个手套吗？
啊，不需要。
So the next step after they catch the crabs, they need to pack it
into this small net.
And it seems those Panjin crabs are slightly smaller than the crabs in the southern part of China. But
what is the difference?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they have their own advantages. 那就是说这个盘锦蟹它在这个口味上呀，包括它特色上，跟这个中国其他的这个淡水蟹有什么相比有什么这个特色嘛？
那个本身盘锦吧，它属于淡水。对，属于淡水，跟那个大闸蟹，南方大闸蟹它那个水质不一样。它们周期为啥河蟹那个南方河蟹大呢？它因为它天气
它是暖是吧？
这个打完包就可以卖了。
谢谢。
完了回去分大小。
It's ready for sale. A large pack of Panjin River crab. It's really heavy.
And our guest just told me these crabs are slightly smaller because
the cold weather.
Because of the cold weather.
Wow,
but they
really
taste.
Heavy.
They have a very unique taste because of the environment they grow in.
Because of the water?
The water, yes, indeed.
It's a salty water. It's kind of alkaline line, and the water so
kind of adds a special taste to these creatures.
这边又有多重啊？这个大概？
这个大概有10多斤吧，15斤吧。
It's 5 kilos.
And how do we process these crabs and cook them? 就接下来会怎么样的去处理，然后烹饪这些螃蟹呢？
那个回去分大小分等，不有大有小吗？分大小回去我就谁买来买的，比如买1两的、1两半的、2两、2两半、3两的，就价钱不同，越小。
So the next step is to group these crabs according to their
size.
Yeah, the size. And earlier we just told you it's important to tell the female crabs from the male because they have different tastes. Do you like eating crabs?
Yeah, I am a really big crab eater.
Which do you
I prefer the male crab.
The male crab.
吃公螃蟹的季节和母螃蟹季节是不是不太一样啊？
不一样，母蟹是正常9月10多号开始，公蟹等到10月1。
就是母蟹早一点。
对，得查20天。
For the best time for eating the female crab is earlier than
because they mature earlier than the males.
Which one do you prefer, the female crab or the male crab?
Well, I like both of them, certainly. But some say the female crabs taste a little bit sweeter than the males. But I think, well, probably the males have a overall better taste in terms of its yolk.
Yeah,
right?
the yolk.
It's more greasy. Yeah. Okay,
it's
so
really tasty.
I think
are we going to have those for lunch?
Yeah, our crew is counting on us for their lunch. So are you hungry now?
I'm really hungry. I'm ready to cook them and steam them.
Okay, so nowadays I think people from across the country can get those crabs from the online stores. So Mr. Wei, do you have your online store? 就是现在好像全国各地的这个食客呀，都可以通过这个网店呀，然后还有就是这个来买到螃蟹。你有自己的网店吗？
没有网店，都是靠自己的微信朋友圈和朋友。
和朋友，然后但是您刚才说到有微店是吧？
啊，对，有属微店，就是有微商。
微商。
对，就是比如说你想做我的代理，我这是跟你利润，都互相共赢的嘛。对，完了你销量大，我不也挣钱了。
So Mr. Wei hasn't yet registered his own online shop, but he did do businesses with WeChat, and also he has his own crab broker to sell his crab to not just all over the country, but also overseas.
So after this live streaming, I'm going to add Mr. Wei on WeChat. I'm going to book some via WeChat. because my family members are all love eating crabs.
And also, it's now quite common for the local residents to develop not just the breeding of crabs, but also agri-tourism. So as we can see here on this farm, we have paddy fields, we have crabs, and also on that side, 如果往那边看的话, there are some people fishing.
Yes, it's a very nice environment.
So it's very profitable for them, I guess.
So for lunch we have rice and crabs.
And fish.
And fish.
Okay, so time for lunch. Hand over to our Zhao Yunfei and Sean Caleb in the southwest.
Thanks, Yilei. I know it's the crab. It's the season to eat crab. You know what? It's also a season to eat crawfish.
Yeah, I love crawfish.
Crawfish is one of the biggest producers. Hubei is one of the biggest
Really?
world producers of crawfish. And we'll try to some at the end of the series party tomorrow night.
In the U.S., we sometimes call them mud bugs
Mud bugs.
because they live in the rivers and
Yes,
and
but
such.
there's no crawfish over here. This is a piano factory.
Indeed.
So this is the final assemble line. Look at these, how these workers are trying to kind of change the tune of the pianos before they actually go out. And
To me,
there's all
what's-
different sorts of pianos over here.
Yeah, and to me what's fascinating is these technicians you see in the green who are tuning the pianos, going through, looking at all the intricacies, making sure there are no blemishes, no flaws. These people are all piano players, and that's very important.
And that's very. And usually you say you use devices, you use like phone to kind of check whether the tune is right while you are adjusting, but they don't need that thing. They use their ears.
Amazing.
That's so amazing.
They're just going up and down the scales right now, trying to make sure it gets. Obviously, it's probably going to need to get tuned once it goes to wherever it's going to go, but it leaves this factory in an amazing tune. They just turn these ever so slightly, the strings, and that's what brings it into.
So, a common fact: how many keys in?
88.
88.
88.
So you have to be familiar with 88 different tones.
No, just the regular E, A, D, G, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. So this is a C note. So C,
Okay.
and then you'll have the sharp and flat too.
All right.
So that's what does that. That's the extent of my piano knowledge. Thank you very much for watching.
Thank you. And by the way, we do have our expert over here.
Talk to Barnabas again. This guy makes it look so effortless. I can't stand that.
Yeah. And this is.
So a little flat, Barnabas?
No, they are.
Wow.
I'm checking here for the first two things pianists will look for is tone and touch. So, and if I find something which is not correct, the voicing, then I point out and they go back and fix it.
Does she also know what happened?
They know pretty good, yes, by now. I mean, we've been doing this for years.
So is that a touching problem or that's a tone problem?
Tone problem.
That's the tone problem.
Slight tone problem.
Slight tone.
So it could be tuned ever so slightly.
Yes, but it's not really tuning, but the hammer, the felt in the hammer is not treated fully or correctly.
And how hard is that to fix? Pretty easy at this point?
It's easy. I mean, of course, they have to also hear it well.
Wow.
They use a needle and they change actually the density of the hammer felt.
And again, that gets back to not made in China, created in China. We're talking about the levels of expertise now. When something goes out, you know you're going to get a good piano.
Yes, voicing is a very high skill, really, because it involves not just the mechanical part of it, but the hearing. They have to hear it. And that is why I encouraged also for them to learn the piano.
Right. And what is it like working as a foreign expert in China? Like how much they need you?
How much they
need you?
I think they value it.
He's too modest. He is too. You saw how effortless he makes that. You also told me that the technicians have piano competitions themselves. What's that like?
It's really cute. Every year we have it, and especially the ladies, they dress nicely, and it's like a real recital. And sometimes we assign them songs which to learn, and sometimes they can choose it on their own. It's not only piano, also singing. and other instruments, Chinese instruments.
So do they shuffle with where they work at, or do certain group of people work?
They
for
pretty
some-
much stay, yes, but
Pretty
because
stable,
it's
okay.
skills, you know, and stations.
Okay, there's no station. We also noticed there are different kinds of pianos over here. There are triangular bass.
This is small baby grand.
This is the smallest baby grand. You know, pianos, especially grand pianos, the longer, the better, the bigger the sound, because the soundboard is bigger, the resonation is bigger. Also in an upright, the taller upright pianos have more full and richer sound. It's the physics.
Can you kind of show us just a bit about one of
Yeah.
these over here? The difference?
That'll be fun.
So they all seems to be the same size, basically, okay? And they also, through that, it's become kind of a uniform, which is important, because the people and the dealer want to have, they want to get what they know.
Kind of give us a,
Yes.
a grade on this one for...
Okay, I think you can hear it. Listen.
Doesn't resonate as much.
Yes, it's a little bit sharper, it's a little bit more bite to it, because it really needs to be very even.
Yeah.
And I always kind of tell them, pitch, and don't test the pianos hammering it. You have to almost soft. Then you.
It's wonderfully subjective, you know?
Yes, it is.
You need that human touch.
Yes.
And is there a strategy where you can test out the quality of the piano? Like kind of a game that you can tell how good that is?
Really, quality for this company is number one. It really, I think it comes from the owners, because they are pianists, okay, and they have such a commitment to that. Really, they aim to make the best possible piano.
But actually, piano it's a Western instrument. I can't imagine there is such a big, like, global supply of pianos in China, especially in central China.
That's the interesting part, you know, it's really far, originally very far from the traditional Chinese instruments and music. And China just embraced it.
Yeah.
And it really, pianos historically moved Europe, America, Japan, Korea, and then China, where the best source for the material, and the market is the biggest. And currently China is obviously the biggest market. The production is 350,000. The market is for 350,000, while in the US currently it's less than 40,000.
You know, it also almost feels like a soundtrack to a movie. We're getting very excited. It's building to a crescendo as the people play it in the background. It must be second nature to you now, but are you ever cease to be amazed about the way this is done? This small army of workers going through day after day, and you told me 1 out of every 7 pianos globally comes from
I'm from here.
Yes.
Exactly from this factory.
By the numbers, every 2.5 minutes a piano is done.
Wow.
Of course, it's all vertically, but it is every 2.5 minutes.
So
yes.
what are the major exporting countries? US, European Union?
Europe, America. Even also in America, we make pianos for the most famous American brand, Baldwin.
Can you show us more around what's going on? Can you show us a little bit about the vibe over here, what people are doing?
For example, you see Grotian. Grotian is a German factory which Baldwin, with Parsons purchased. Okay. So they also use their expertise. They design elements and so, but then they further refine it. The other one is, for example, William Steinberg. So all these pianos are certainly unique, using different material. It's not just a stencil, not just the name on the piano.
I also noticed they're using a very smart
Yeah, I
car
saw that. There's a little dolly that goes up and down.
Yeah.
That's very important, you know, because pianos are heavy, so to move them around. You know.
So basically you assemble the entire thing to your guest.
Basically everything. That's also the advantage of our factories. From the iron plate to the keys to everything is really because for efficiency and for the longevity, you really want to be in control of all of your product and parts. There are over 10,000 parts in the piano.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Just the action, just the mechanical action is over 3,000 parts.
That's hard to believe.
All right, thank you so much. It's so great to have you today.
Barnabas, we appreciate everything you're playing and your patience and your knowledge. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. Okay. Yeah, now we're gonna move to our another guest. He's the deputy manager of this factory, Zhuang Liansen. 感谢您啊，这个我们是说这个想谈一下这个宜昌的这个钢琴的这个发展的业务啊，长江经济带的这种环境给这个宜昌的钢琴带来什么样的一个推动作用 ？So how has the company thrived under the framework of the Yangtze River economic belt?
好，我们宜昌啊是一个宜人之城、昌盛之地它这个气候啊非常适合钢琴的制造。另外呢，作为这个旅游文化城市，那么我们的钢琴是一个文化产品，它非常跟这个城市的定位啊相得益彰。
So Mr. Zhuang is saying they're using the theme of piano to kind of decorate the city because the city is a tourism attraction. So this is a really good marriage.
That's wonderful.
那第二方面呢，像我们的宜昌政府啊，它很务实他们的这整个营商环境做得特别好。所以说我们也很乐意在这里投资发展。
Basically, he's thanking the local government for giving a supportive environment. We know that this is a Hong Kong company and having a branch in the Chinese mainland. 那么作为一个港商，也给到现在的这个香港目前这个局势，您怎么看待这个香港的公司企业在内陆发展的情况？
其实我们总裁啊，叫吴天元先生，他在回归之前，他就已经有很前瞻性的这个战略眼光，他就认为这个。我们的内地应该是最大的市场所以说他当时就果断地进军我们内地市场。那么我们的企业也从这个一开始的这个纯粹的乐器营销，到现在发展成乐器制造还有音乐教育以及这个文化推广4个板块。
So basically, this is the company that considered coming to the Chinese mainland before Hong Kong returned to China, and this is very interesting, considerable thought, given the fact that it's just. Foreseeing it's kind of a long-term development.
Makes sense. Good business sense. Could you ask Mr. Zhang? I know that his company has partnered with many international companies, but the pianos are all not the same. For every company, there's going to be differences. Some lower end, some higher end.
Say that again.
Some lower end, some higher end.
有些就是品质比较高，有些品质比较低。你怎么看待这个？
对，是这样子这个说起这个钢琴制造，它本身是属于轻工业。那么轻工业应该说在我们中国这个发展的这个过程中，还是有功不可没的地位那么我们早期呢，确实是做了一些相对低端的这个产品，但是呢，现在通过这几年国家这个产业结构调整，我们也慢慢往中高端去发展。就像我们的钢琴，今年已经入选这个俄罗斯的柴可夫斯基大赛的指定用琴，跟全世界这个最高顶级的钢琴同台媲美。
So basically, they're trying to match the global standard thanks to the change of reform of the industry structure. So at the beginning, they focus on some light pianos, but later on, they're focusing more like a high demand because you can see the pianos are labeled with different brands over here. So, all right, 谢谢你啊 Thank you so much. Thanks for coming. What do you think?
I think it's amazing. And to me, a number of things stand out. I think that this is a great microcosm of what we've seen as we take our New China adventure all across this country. The various diversity from like the Northeast to the Southeast. We've said it, it's the old industrial base. It's the new engine at Southeast driving this market. And then where we are is always been referred to as the emerging markets. And I think we're seeing that here. The companies that are partnering up with Boston Piano, these are some of the best companies in the world. And I think it's really a good indication how things have changed from made in China to created in China. We talked about the international expert who said that if China did have a reputation in the past for building an inferior music product, that is changing dramatically. So to me, coming to your town, you did a great job setting this up. What's your big takeaway
Well,
from this?
actually, when we just come to Yichang, we didn't think about this at all. We came for the Three Gorges Dam. We think it's a hydropower city. The key words that relate to Yichang are water, electricity, Yangtze River, and engineering, something like that. We never thought about the light industry, the development of light industry over here. But when we come over here, people introduce, you know what, this is also a city of piano. It's like, that's very interesting. That's a very good, interesting angle.
If you think about one out of every 7 pianos in the world, you go into 10 buildings in any country in the world, at least one of these pianos is going to be built right here. And it's not chaos, it's very controlled. You have experts, you have people putting these pianos together who play the piano. They understand the subtleties, they understand the nuance, they understand, it sounds okay, let's just ship it out. No, we're going to do this to where it's right. So when you get your piano in another country, the strings will probably come out of tune ever so slightly, but everything else is going to be top-notch.
Okay. As Mr. Zhuang just mentioned, that this is a city with tourism industry booming as well. All kind of things together, 3 gorges, all sorts of things together. Later on, we'll talk about how the country's civilization.
To me, I just never get tired of watching this come together because the lacquer product, the upright pianos here just look glorious. The red one that we had out in front of the river, that's one of my favorite backdrops of this entire trip. This is
so many observations.
Now. And I got to also point out we have our new colleague joining us today.
Joining us those last 2 days, so hopefully we'll have fun 2 days. And later on at 4 GMT at Global Watch, we'll bring you live and talk about country civilization at this famous town.
Wonderful.
Thank you for watching. Stay tuned.
In 70 years, China has undergone unprecedented transformation. From its old industrial base in the northeast to its new manufacturing powerhouse in the southeast and to its emerging southwest. CGTN offers you a panoramic view of contemporary China. Our crews will travel along 3 different routes and come to you live from dozens of locations and free mobile studios. Join us for an all-inclusive look at China on our TV channel and digital platforms, September the 9th to the 20th. It is New China, then and now, in celebration of the 70th anniversary of the People's Republic of China, only on CGTN.